So as we said that it's back to school across the country this morning, and this year we will see the implementation of the Bela Act by the Basic Education Department. One of the key amendments include making a grade R compulsory for all children. To discuss the importance of this and its long-term effects, I'm now joined by education specialist, Professor Michael Lee Cordeur. Professor Michael, good morning, and thank you so much for making time for us this morning. When we speak about the Bela Act, it is mostly around the contentious Clause 4 as well as Clause 5. But there's a very important aspect to this bill, to the Act rather, which amongst others include making our grade R compulsory, something that the Basic Education Minister also stressed about the importance of early childhood development. Speak to us about that.
Yes, thank you. Good morning to you, and good morning to your viewers and all your listeners. Thank you for having me on your show. You know, the Bela Act is a very important piece of legislation. It consists of 56 clauses, and for the past few weeks and months even, we've been listening to Clause 4 and 5, and very little attention has been given to the other clauses. One is the fact that grade R will become compulsory as from here onwards, which I feel is long overdue. The importance of giving a child the advantage of grade R education cannot be measured in money or in time, because it is so important to give your learners a good start when he or she starts their school career. My experience with teachers and schools across the board, they tell me that it takes them almost up to a year just to get that child ready so that they can start with the actual curriculum, if that child was not exposed to preschool development. It is important, and I want to agree with the Minister, that early child development is almost the most important phase in our education system. And for long now, this section of the education system has been neglected, and we have seen the implications thereof. That is part of the reason why we are struggling with literacy. When we our performance in international assessment tests show that South Africa is not up to standard when it gets to literacy, mathematics, and science, and most of them can be attributed to the fact that most of the learners in this country are not exposed to grade R, and therefore I think it's long overdue, and I would sincerely welcome the introduction of this.
Yeah, so early childhood development used to fall under the Social Development Department until amendments were made, that it will now go to the Basic Education Department, and then on top of that it's also been made compulsory. What then happens to the early childhood centres that have already been established, that the parents are still enrolling their children to? Do those still remain intact, or does it mean that all early childhood development centres will fall under the Basic Education Department if a school does not provide, for instance, let's say a grade R?
Yeah, let me first and foremost say that when the early child development, when it was under the Department of Social Development, it never got to the majority of our learners. There were bits and pieces spreading across the country where some learners had the advantage of going to these facilities, but most of our learners never had access to this. Now it's compulsory, it meaning that the government takes now over the responsibility. The Department of Basic Education now becomes the most important shareholder of this new direction that our education system is going into. And whilst I foresee that many of the centres will continue, because we cannot expect all of this to happen overnight, but gradually all these various centres will be becoming part of the formal schooling, and I foresee that many of these facilities will be attached to a particular school. But at the end of all of this, it is important for us to get all of this under one umbrella, and that umbrella will be the Department of Basic Education, which means that all learners will have the opportunity to receive grade R education.
Yeah. In conclusion, I just quickly want to take you back to those contentious two clauses and the powers of the SGBs. Right now, Gauteng as well as the Western Cape facing a problem with regards to grade 1s as well as the grade 8s and enrolling those and the latecomers, of course, that would apply late. When I spoke to the MEC for Education in Gauteng and I asked him about if the Bela Act was operationalized already, would it have meant that the Gauteng Education Department would be able to place learners in schools where the medium of instruction is only Afrikaans? And he said that yes, that is an issue that would have been dealt with. In the meantime, up until those two clauses become operationalized, what should happen to ensure that all these children are placed?
Well, it is always going to be a problem given the fact that we have never built enough schools since 1994, and we cannot deny the fact that there is a huge shortage of classrooms and schools in our country. So there are going to be problems in hosting all of the learners. What should have happened, and my understanding is that now that the Bela Act has been accepted, that the Minister of Basic Education, Ms. Cordeur, and her team must now work out the norms and the standards for that particular clause, meaning what will the regulations be. And I'm not sure that that has been dealt with as yet. We are only on the 15th of January, and she indicated earlier that it might take up to 6 months. So there will be problems, and I think we all need to be patient because most of these things cannot happen overnight. As for the government must realize that now that the Bela Act is going to be in place, if there are problems in certain schools, the government will have to act and they will have to step in and they will have to come forward with solutions. And I'll give you just one piece. If it is said that a child must go to another school, but there will be expenses for that child or his parents, then I feel it is for the account of the government, because it is their job and it's their responsibility to ensure that learners get the necessary education. If they decide that the child must go into the Afrikaans school, then it is also the responsibility of the government to make sure that there are English teachers and that they are indeed responsible for the payment of those teachers. We cannot put the blame and we cannot put all the responsibility now on the shoulders of schools because schools have limited budgets. So yes, the Bela Act is now functioning, but the government will have to come to the party and they will have to play their role.